If you murder a monster to prove a theory, do you become the monster yourself? This is the harrowing question that tortures Rodion Raskolnikov, a brilliant but destitute former student in the bleak, suffocating streets of 19th-century St. Petersburg. Dostoevsky doesn't write a traditional whodunit, he writes a whydunit, a terrifying descent into the human psyche that explores whether a superior human being has the right to step over moral laws. The sinister theory. Rodion Raskolnikov lives in a cramped, coffin-like room, drowning in poverty and isolation. He develops a dangerous, megalomaniacal theory. Humanity is divided into two categories, the ordinary and the extraordinary. Ordinary people must obey the law, but extraordinary individuals, like Napoleon, have the right to transgress moral boundaries if their actions serve a higher, greater purpose. To test his theory and solve his financial ruin, Raskolnikov plots the perfect crime. He targets Alyona Ivanovna, a cruel, parasitic old pawnbroker who exploits the poor. He convinces himself that by killing her, he is doing society a favor. However, the execution goes horribly wrong. Not only does he kill the pawnbroker, but he is forced to murder her innocent, mentally disabled half-sister, Lizaveta, who walks in on the scene. He escapes with a handful of trinkets, leaving no physical evidence behind. The true punishment. The physical crime is over within the first few chapters, but the true punishment begins instantly. Raskolnikov discovers that he is not the cold, unshakable, extraordinary man he thought he was. Instead, he is consumed by intense fever, paranoia, and a profound, agonizing isolation from the rest of humanity. Every knock at the door feels like an arrest. Every conversation feels like an interrogation. He buries the stolen goods under a stone, unable to even look at them. His mind becomes his own personal hell, severing his connection to his loving mother and sister, Dunya, who arrive in the city to support him. The duel of minds. Enter Porfiry Petrovich, the brilliant and highly perceptive examining magistrate assigned to the murder case. Porfiry has read an article Raskolnikov published about the extraordinary man theory and instantly suspects him. What follows is a legendary psychological chess match. Porfiry doesn't arrest Raskolnikov immediately. Instead, he plays mind games, dropping subtle hints, visiting him unexpectedly and waiting for the guilt-ridden student to psychologically collapse under his own anxiety. Porfiry knows that an innocent man acts differently than a guilty one who is desperately trying to look innocent. Redemption through love and suffering. As Raskolnikov drifts deeper into madness, he crosses paths with Sonya Marmeladova, a young, deeply religious woman forced into prostitution to save her starving family from her father's rampant alcoholism. Sonya is the emotional heart of the novel. Unlike Raskolnikov, who sinned out of pride, Sonya sins out of absolute self-sacrifice and love for others. Recognizing her pure spirit, Raskolnikov is drawn to her. She becomes the only person to whom he confesses his hideous crime. Instead of turning away in horror, Sonya weeps for his suffering and urges him to confess to the police, telling him he must kiss the earth he defiled and accept his suffering to achieve spiritual rebirth. The epilogue, Siberia and Rebirth. Unable to bear the psychological isolation any longer, and pushed by Porfiry's closing trap, Raskolnikov finally walks into the police station and confesses. He is sentenced to 8 years of hard labor in a Siberian prison camp. Sonya follows him there, supporting him from the outside. Initially, Raskolnikov remains proud and unrepentant in prison, still clinging to his broken theory. However, through a profound illness and the unconditional, patient love of Sonya, his defensive walls finally crumble. He undergoes a spiritual awakening, realizing that love, humility, and faith, not intellectual theories, are the true paths to redemption. The core takeaway: Dostoevsky's masterpiece powerfully argues that no human being can isolate themselves from the universal moral law. True freedom is not found in stepping over others to prove one's superiority, but in empathy, shared human suffering, and love.